is it really going to be a situation where Will Levis can compete with Cam Ward?
The NFL spoke very loudly and clearly about Shedeur Sanders.
5-10 years from now, we're going to pull up this interview and you're going to be like, well, he said it.
The guessing game's over. We know where they're going. So which rookie quarterbacks are going to start and thrive in 2025? Which ones are going to sit and wait for their chance? Which rookie will shit their pants? Which ones are going to hold a clipboard and never take a snap in the NFL like poor Christian Hackenberg?
The worst possible scenario.
Which ones should download Duolingo to start learning how to speak Canadian right now? Now this may sound crazy, but will any of the 2025 rookie quarterbacks actually play well this year? I'm going to try and answer all of that here, right now, because I am an unofficial quarterback whisperer. But this is not an ASMR video. You're going to have to pay for that shit, all right? It's all about the rookies today on That's Good Sports. Do a sub. Today's episode is sponsored by NFL Offsides. What? That's right. NFL Offsides, a weekly game show that airs right here on YouTube. The NFL's YouTube channel, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. for all of us forgotten Mountain Time people. The show is hosted by Chargers kicker Cameron Dicker, aka Dicker the Kicker, aka friend of the show. This week, Cam Jordan and Kirby Joseph compete on the show. There's a bunch of different physical challenges they compete in, and then video game play and challenges. They played foosball in the last episode, and if the NFL ever wants to see NFL players get absolutely wrecked on the foosball table, hi, I'm really good at foosball. It's a skill that I have no use for. Until now, maybe. I believe the first episode featured Matthew Judon, S-Band, MMG, and David Montgomery, who confirmed he's not a vegan. And the only reason he ate that carrot on Thanksgiving and not the turkey is because he doesn't trust any cooking that's not his mom or his brothers.
I only ate the carrot because I don't know who made the turkey.
So outside all the games and challenges, you get to know a little bit about the players. Joe Alt was playing Fortnite, so check it out this Tuesday on the NFL YouTube channel. It streams live. And I think it's pretty cool. The NFL asked me to help promote their live show. So go check it out and then just write my name in the comments over and over again. Brandon Perna sent me. Brandon Perna sent me. Brandon Perna sent me. The 2025 NFL Draft came and went, and while it didn't exactly have the same star power as some of the past classes, it sure didn't lack the drama.
I don't know what we're talking about here.
You're right. Something. You're right.
Yes.
Cam Ward was the clear headliner. Well, actually, he was far from the headliner, but he was the number one pick, who took a bizarre path to get to the top. A year ago, Ward was considered a fringe QB prospect, but a breakout season at Miami flipped that narrative on its big dumb head. He went from a day 3 afterthought to the Davey O'Brien Award winner, tossing a school record 39 touchdowns, leading Miami to 10 wins, and drawing comparisons to Patrick Mahomes and Caleb Williams for his improv style of passing. Not bad for a guy who once had to beg scouts to give his film a second look. Now, if you're looking for arm talent, Ward has it in spades. He's got the same kind of wizardry that makes Mahomes special, the ability to change arm angles, throw from weird platforms, and still put the ball on a rope downfield. Coaches and scouts couldn't stop talking about his creativity. It's the kind of stuff that's impossible to coach, but also maddeningly inconsistent. Now, the concern with Ward isn't his talent, but his tendency to go full backyard football. 1 minute he's throwing a 40-yard dot on the run, and the next he's flipping an interception into double coverage because he thought he could fit the ball through a little keyhole. That's the gambles the Titans took when they made him the top pick. He was such the clear-cut number one guy that Giants GM Joe Schoen made one final, albeit humorous, call to the Titans just to really make sure they weren't willing to trade out of the number one spot in the draft.
Were you waiting for this? You gonna pick? I had to do it.
And Ward's situation in Tennessee couldn't be better for a young quarterback. Assuming you love 30-plus-year-old wide receivers, that is. Let's be clear, though. He's going to start from day one. The Titans are ready to move on from Will Levis, who has mostly floundered since being drafted in the second round a few years back. Levis had his moments, but ultimately couldn't string enough good games together to cement himself as the franchise guy. The bar has been set extremely low in Tennessee. Ward is expected to step in immediately, and with all of his experience in college, he should be ready to go. Tennessee's got some weapons too. Calvin Ridley back after a 1,000-yard season. They brought in Tyler Lockett for some extra veteran presence. Stanford's Elick Ayomanor, a big-bodied rookie wideout, also joined the fold. If Ward's going to succeed as a rookie, this is about as nice a spot as he could have landed. I've joked a lot about the Titans' old-ass receivers, but for a rookie, I think they can provide a lot of help in the meeting rooms and on the field just by understanding the game and coverages. I like that Cam went to the Titans, who are about as low on the national radar as you can find from an NFL team. And Ward going number 1 overall was definitely overshadowed by Shedeur Sanders falling into the 5th round. He's not going to have a ton of metaphorical pressure on his shoulders, and he's got a good developer of quarterback talent at the helm in Brian Callahan, even if we don't really know who Callahan is as a head coach yet. A 6-7 win season, like many expected out of Bo Nix last year, is doable and will look like a massive improvement for the Titans. 6 wins, some close losses, decent stat line, and the comfort in knowing Cam Ward is your guy by the end of the year, Tennessee. Then we've got Tyler Shuck. Who the fuck is Shuck? Who the fuck is Shuck? Shuck. He's your quarterback, New Orleans. He's another guy who could see the field pretty early, and his path to the NFL is definitely one of persistence. Again, he spent 7 years in college, bouncing from Oregon to Texas Tech and finally Louisville. It's not just the journey that makes Shuck intriguing, it's his maturity. He's 26, very old, an old man by rookie standards, and has battled through every possible injury along the way. Scouts like his poise, his intelligence, and his experience running a pro-style offense under Jeff Brom at Louisville. But there's also concern that his history of injuries has turned him into a bit of a chuck and duck guy. Someone who senses pressure even when it's not there. I get that, but that's because I'm scared of ghosts.
Seen ghosts.
The Saints took him in the 2nd round because they see a potential day 1 starter if things break right. New Orleans wants stability, and at this point, Carr isn't it. If Shuck's healthy, his veteran presence and readiness to play might just be what the Saints need. His competition is merely Spencer Rattler and Jake Haener, 2 guys who combined for just 5 touchdown passes and 7 losses. Maybe you don't want to give up on someone like Rattler after just 1 season, where he was playing with a really depleted supporting cast in New Orleans, but if Kellen Moore and company had any confidence in Rattler, I don't think they would have made the move for Tyler Shuck. In fact, they may have been the only team enamored with Shuck. The cliche, it only takes 1 team to fall in love with you, I think applies to Shuck in this situation, and I'm not saying that as a knock either. I want him to succeed more than anyone because I love a freaking underdog.
No, you took the right quarterback. Trust me. This kid, he can make every throw in the book. I watched it. I saw it every day. As a former receiver, looking at this young man, first guy in the building, last guy to leave the building, he's a pro-ready quarterback. He's not going to let me down. He's going to actually make sure he leads the Saints, hopefully, to a championship.
Kellen Moore is the key figure in this operation. He spent his last 3 coaching spots in the NFL calling plays for Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert, and Jalen Hurts. On top of playing the position himself, I think he knows what he wants out of a signal caller. 2 times he's called plays for the best offense in the league in terms of yards, and in 2021, he was in charge of a Cowboys unit that amassed the most yards and scored the most points in the NFL. Last year, obviously, he helped the Eagles offense get over the hump and win a Super Bowl. Now, I've never given Kellen Moore the credit he probably deserves because he coached 3 very talented quarterbacks in his offenses. If Tyler Shuck starts the majority of the games for the Saints in 20-25 and posts a winning record, it will be Moore's finest work, and the Saints will have hit a home run with the hiring. I think Shuck finds himself in a very favorable spot, provided that every skill player on that offense doesn't have a piano fall on their fucking skull by week 6. Ultimately, I see Shuck, like Cam Ward, getting the start on opening day. He might not get the same leash as Ward, but he's going to get the look to begin the season, mostly because there's just not the same level of competition. I thought the only way Tyler Shuck wouldn't start week 1 for the Saints would be if Derek Carr was 100% healthy and ready to go. We now know he won't be.
There was some phone numbers I had to delete in my phone. Amen?
He'll be searching for the best assisted living community in retirement. And although Kellen Moore has stated they will have a real quarterback competition between Shuck, Rattler, and Haener, I find that hard to believe. Including Jake Haener in a quarterback competition at this point seems far-fetched. Spencer Rattler has some nice physical tools, but unless one of them shows they are miles ahead of Shuck in their ability to mentally grasp Kellen Moore's playbook, there's little upside by playing either quarterback. Shuck has arguably a better arm than both and prototypical size at 6'5". He's got more going for him for a second-round quarterback than we've seen since the Raiders drafted Derek Carr. Plus, he has something neither Rattler nor Haener have. He's amphibious.
I can throw the football left-handed pretty good, so I might try that in a game. Just kidding. Gonna try to practice probably first.
Being able to throw with both arms. Sorry, did I say amphibious? I, of course, meant ambiguous. He's ambiguous in every way.
I might try that in a game.
Then we have Jalen Milroe. His story is all about raw talent in the right situation and the right mindset. The Seahawks took a gamble on him in the 3rd round, but they're in no rush to throw him to the Wolves. Milroe is probably the best pure athlete among all of the rookie quarterbacks. He's got the elite athleticism for the position and a rifle of a right arm. The problem, that rifle's a little too powerful and the sights haven't been adjusted. He's not exactly accurate, or what you might call consistent.
You can see him throw a 17-yard dig, a deep in route, in between 2 defenders with unbelievable velocity and accuracy, and then 3 snaps later have the guy wide open in the same place and throw it 8 yards over his head. There's massive inconsistencies. That's why he's got to go to a team where they recognize it and they don't just throw him out there in the scout team offense.
There are also concerns that Nick Saban retired because he couldn't bear to watch Milroe play another year at Alabama. I'm just kidding, but maybe not. Sometimes his throws look like they were shot out of a cannon with no guidance system. Seattle's plans seem pretty clear. Let Sam Darnold hold the job down while Jalen Milroe develops. And no, I do not see Darnold and Milroe as the Gen Z Matt Flynn and Russell Wilson. Milroe's challenges, they're simple. He needs to refine his game from the pocket. If he can figure out how to work through his progressions without panicking, he's got a real shot at being special.
Quarterbacks can extend the play are incredibly difficult to defend. I mean, you play the first play of the play perfectly on defense, and you defend it, and you're like, all right, sweet, we did it. And then the guy still has the ball, and then you got to defend the next play. He can kill you in the first play, he can kill you in the second play, he can kill you in the third play. And it's not a fun existence, to live consistently.
Mike McDonald clearly sees the upside, and while Darnold is a serviceable stopgap, he's not going to keep Jalen Milroe on the bench if the rookie starts flashing in practice and Darnold picks up from where he left off at the end of last season. I see Milroe getting used similarly to Lamar Jackson his rookie year, coming into the game on select packages for the first half of the season, getting some high upside reps. Keep in mind, Mike McDonald was in Baltimore while they transitioned from Joe Flacco to Lamar Jackson. Now, I doubt Milroe starts many games in 2025, but that's just because I refuse to give up on Slingin' Sammy D.
That was a northern mockingbird.
The Seahawks know they're taking a risk taking Milroe over Shedeur Sanders in the draft, but I always like when a stable and competent team takes a chance on a player with high upside. I'm dubious when a lesser team takes that chance. And while we don't have a track record of a defensive head coach like Mike McDonald developing a young quarterback, the Seahawks are a model of stability at the very least. I believe Milroe gets at least one start by the end of his rookie season and competes for the job in year number 2. Jackson Dart might have the most interesting scenario out of anyone in this class, right? The Giants went back into the first round to grab him at 25, and it's easy to see why. He is fucking hot. He's strong arm, but he's a looker. Whew. Let's just say milk does a body good. Dart's got a live arm, good mobility, and the kind of attitude that makes coaches believe he can lead a team. But his situation, it's complicated. The Giants are desperate for stability after the Daniel Jones experiment crashed and burned. Full body, third degree, burned the Giants from head to fucking toe.
Not again.
Not a single pube was spared. Brian Dable's job might be on the line. And instead of handing the keys to Dart right away, they brought in Russell, Dangerous, Wilson, and Jameis, famous for throwing interceptions, Winston, to hold the fort down. Now, I would have liked their situation a little better had they just brought in Jameis, but I might be a little biased considering Russ made my life a living hell for 2 years and I can never in a million years forgive him for that. Nor can I ever eat Subway again. Shit, sometimes I find myself inadvertently just saying, let's ride, for no reason. Let's ride. Let's ride.
He's fired up.
Oh my God, we're burning alive! Not again.
Other than that, he's okay. Russ will play well enough where Dart may have to wait longer than we fans want. Jameis would have opened the window for Dart week 2 with 900 passing yards for both teams when factoring in his interceptions. Dart is the future, but the Giants are doing everything they can to protect him from getting thrown into the fire too early. If Wilson or Winston looks competent and the team stays afloat, Dart might spend his entire rookie year holding a clipboard.
No, I want to hear the snap count.
Yeah.
Really?
But let's be honest, it's the Giants.
Giants! Giants! Help us, God!
Amen? Amen. All right, we're together on that.
If things go south fast, fans and media will be calling for Dart before the leaves hit the ground. It's a tightrope walk for Brian Dable. Rush Dart in and it could blow up, but play it too safe and he might never get to see his prized rookie develop. Ultimately, Dart is going to serve as a panic switch for the Giants. If Brian Dable starts losing his grip on the job, his last resort is to start old Dart and hope he plays well enough for the Maras to keep him coaching the team. And I think the Maras should actually be patient in this situation. We obviously have that history with Dable turning Josh Allen into a star in Buffalo and then getting the most out of Daniel Jones in 2022, so it's fair to have a smidgen of optimism regarding Dart in New York. Russell Wilson has already been named the starter, but I see Dable having the same amount of patience with Russ as Sean Payton. Brian Dable's going to realize Dart has a better understanding of his offense than Wilson or Winston quickly.
Yeah, we call it purple.
Even if Russ understands the offense, he's going to play the exact same brand of football regardless. Jameis, well, we all love him, but he also might be illiterate. Whether it's panic or merit, I bet we see Dart starting come October. And you know what? With what appears to be a good defense, Dart might just be solid, respectable in 2025. And then there's Shedeur Sanders. Oh, baby. I already know he's going to be in the thumbnail of this video. Probably front and center. The guy who slid all the way down to the 5th round despite being the most talked about quarterback of the offseason. Cleveland moved up to get him, even with Dylan Gabriel already in the fold. Sanders is polarizing as a prospect, and that's been plenty well documented over the last several weeks and months. He's got Andy Dalton type upside according to most scouts, not named Teddy Bridgewater, but He already carried himself like the next coming of Christ, according to the people who may or may not have had pleasant interactions with him leading up to the draft in late April. I'm honestly glad we can put all of that behind us and simply observe him as a quarterback in Cleveland. I'll be watching him very, very closely through the world's most expensive microscope. The same one I use to help me pee when I need to find my man penis. Fuck, why'd I say that? The Browns quarterback room is wide open. Joe Flacco, ancient. Kenny Pickett hasn't developed and is on Team 3 in 4 years. Plus these small hand propaganda photos crushed Kenny last week. Why do we gotta do him like that, internet? And while Dylan Gabriel gave a very mature answer at his Browns press conference.
And yesterday people were like, oh, Dylan did better, Shedeur did better. So do you plan to kind of ignore that, engage in it? What's your approach to that?
Yeah, I think the more questions I get asked like that, it just divides the team.
The one advantage Shedeur Sanders has over him for sure right now is local Browns reporters aren't mouthing, I'm taller than him.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
I'm taller than him. I'm taller than him. I'm taller than him.
He's short. So what, Cleveland? So what? Now I want Dylan Gabriel to win the job.
It just divides the team.
Dylan Gabriel, while steady, doesn't have Sanders' ceiling. Or does he? I honestly don't know at this point. Is Dylan Gabriel better than him? If Sanders shows the right blend of patience and aggression, he could easily be starting by midseason for the Browns. Cleveland wants a spark, and Sanders might be the most electric option they've got. A spark that could be attached to a long fuse going into a 1,000-gallon tank of gasoline and dynamite. The real question is whether he can mature fast enough to handle the grind of an NFL season. He's got some traits you see in starting caliber quarterbacks, and I think he can at the best be a top 15 quarterback if all breaks are right for him. And that's more than the Browns can typically say of their QBs. More on that though in the coming month. Now the trick with Shedeur is knowing his completion percentage was very high, and also knowing he took a shit ton of sacks to keep it high instead of throwing some balls away. He ran a Pat Shurmur offense in Colorado. Is that a pro-style offense? If you've watched Pat Shurmur, I don't think you can call what he runs an offense. Did Deion help inflate his numbers at CU? Possibly. All of that is why nobody knows who the fuck Shedeur is as a quarterback, and I want to be high on him. As a Buffs fan, I am grateful for what he did to save that program, but the Raiders passing on Shedeur Sanders, that's what makes me think he might be doomed to fail in the NFL. Tom Brady and Shedeur Sanders have a relationship. Tom's rooting for him, but Tom didn't need him on his team either. In fact, Tom's ringing QB endorsement to Raiders GM John Spytek was for Cam Miller, an FCS quarterback who fell to the 6th round before the Raiders scooped him up. Joe Flacco gets the start week 1, in my opinion, which is gospel. But the Browns love to cycle through QBs. I think Sanders starts 2 to 4 games in 2025, but I also believe we will see the Browns start at least 3 quarterbacks, and they will test both Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders on the field. Will Howard's shot with the Steelers is sneaky interesting. Pittsburgh grabbed him in the 6th round, great value, and while he's not the flashiest guy, he's consistent and tough. You know the Steelers love that shit, right? He's also a champion with a ton of experience at the college level. Mason Rudolph is still around, but nobody's fooled into thinking he's the long-term answer. He wasn't even really better than Will Levis in Tennessee. If Aaron Rodgers shows up in Pittsburgh, Howard will have to wait his turn, but he's already bucked expectations just by making it this far.
Gotta send that to my mom. She'll love it.
He's got good size, decent mobility, and enough arm to make NFL throws. He's not going to wow anyone, but if he gets on the field, he won't embarrass himself either. It's all going to come down to Rodgers. If A-Rod keeps them waiting and waiting and waiting, Howard is going to be in the mix to start eventually this season because the Steelers simply have very limited options. They banked everything on Rodgers joining the team before training camp. Personally, I think it's a fool's errand to trust anything that comes out of the mouth of that snake oil salesman.
No concept for what time it is.
But, on the other hand, I deeply trust and respect Mike Tomlin. So I'm torn. If Rodgers doesn't make it to Western Pennsylvania, the Steelers are looking at a quasi-rebuild season, and I don't doubt that Will Howard gets to start at least a quarter, if not more, of the 2025 year. And he'll probably look decent because that's just how the Steelers operate. They'll hand the ball off and let him make easy throws. If Aaron Rodgers does play, it's only going to benefit Will Howard. If Rodgers lights it up, we know it's probably just for one season, and Howard will get a roadmap for that success in Pittsburgh. If Rodgers sucks, it will be because the Steelers have no weapons, and the expectations will be even lower for Howard than they are right now, and they're pretty low. As for the last few fringe guys, you always have to keep an eye on whoever's backing up Tua Tagovailoa, and that man is Quinn Ewers. I just hope we see him in a room full of endangered sea creatures with their heads mounted on the wall like we saw during the draft. I think it's a positive for Ewers to be in a quarterback room with head coach Mike McDaniel. I hope it doesn't come down to it, but if Tua and Zach Wilson go down and the Dolphins play 3 QBs like they did a year ago, Ewers would be in line to get a start. I don't think Kyle McCord gets any meaningful starts, but he could very well get some playing time at the end of a blowout if he can edge out Tanner McKee, who actually looked fairly interesting late last season. Riley Leonard is someone to keep an eye on in Indianapolis, if only because he's competing with Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones, who are not exactly good or durable in any sense of the word. And the 49ers, 7th round pick, Curtis Rourke from Indiana. He was born in Ontario, so he already knows how to speak Canadian. Not saying he'll be in the CFL, but probably. And those are our 2025 rookie QBs. Thanks for watching That's Good Sports. Please subscribe here. You gotta subscribe on YouTube. So subscribe. Subscribe.